You are literally the queen of glamour.
Aww.
You make everything look glamorous, whether it is motherhood, whether it is your style and fashion game, whether it's beauty and makeup, whatever it is, whatever you touch, it has to be glamorous.
Aww.
I mean, literally, whatever you touch has to be glamorous.
Yeah. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I see the blessings coming our way. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming our way.
I can see the blessings.
Okay, can we please tell everybody this is a story. Okay, that Roger told me, right? With you in heels on your way to deliver the baby in full on knee-high boots, high heel.
Yeah.
Rachel. I mean, I'm in shock because I could never. If I could literally put on slippers to go deliver a baby, I would be excited.
Do you know, it's funny because in hindsight, I realize why that was seemingly insane. Because, it's funny because, like I said, to me, that was normal. It didn't occur to me. It was 3 a.m, my water broke. I put on, leggings, this floor-length Halston vintage sweater, a hat, my thigh-high Cassidy boots. The heels, I still have them. The heels are literally 8 inches to the platform. And I distinctly remember sitting in the car with my water breaking, all over the place. Yes. And Roger was like, he's like, do you have a towel? I was like, what about my sweater?
No.
I was like, what? And but that was how I went to the hospital. That was how I left the hospital. That was that's the thing. It doesn't, it's who I am for better or for worse. It's I just, how you get to a certain point in your life and you go, I am who I am. And I'm mortified, but this is who I am.
Yeah.
And then when I look back at pictures, because Roger, even though I wanted to take the camera and shove it in his face and knock him over, in hindsight, I wouldn't have almost believed what happened, in that moment.
It is just so wild. But honestly, you're being true to who you are. I think that's the most remarkable thing about it. One thing I don't think people would realize about you, and this is, I think, what was most, I think, I was like, oh my God, when I first met you, was just how real you are and how, honestly true to yourself you are. And people don't know how down to earth you are because they see all the glamour, they see all you're always so beautiful, you're always so done, you're always so in your style, you know what I mean, everything is always so put together that people don't realize how down to earth you are. And when you really have a conversation with you, I'm just damn, who is she? What is this?
Well, it's funny because I don't even know if it's a politically correct term to actually say anymore, but I just say I'm always going to be a hippie at heart, if that makes sense. It's because Raj and I, when we met, we went to all these dead shows together. We were driving to Florida from DC to for our first vacation, rolling our change, to pay for one night in a hotel. But at the same time, there's this. My mother is very similar. My mom has always been glamorous from the day I met her. And my mom always said, when I didn't have a dollar to my name, I was still glamorous because it was all I knew how to be. And she says that, and she's still glamorous. My mom's 80, but she still is at the core, you can get down and talk to my mom about literally anything. She's been through it. She went to Cal Berkeley. She was protesting. She was she got arrested at one point. Wow. Sorry, Mom.
Putting all the business out there, Rachel.
Well, but in a good way. She got arrested for fighting for women and women's rights way back before it was, before popular. It was the thing.
And is that where you got it from? All of her passion, her grit, but also her glamour?
Yeah, I would say the glamour 100% from my mom. I would say my grit came much later in life. My mom, I feel has always had grit because, in those days, my mom was basically raising her baby sister. My grandma worked. My grandfather worked. She was Rachel, I was a grown up at 11.
Wow.
She's I was watching my sister. My mom was off at work. she's like, I worked as long as I can remember, you know, and then she went to college in California and, you know, she worked like 5 jobs. She was a teacher. She was all the things. And then I think like when my dad, you know, my dad again came from nothing and like self-made and this whole thing. But I think when that all happened, my mom was like, yeah, I'm going to do what I love. So my mom, I always said, was like the busiest non-working person, right? Like she had so much to do. And I was like, well, what are you doing? But she did so many things. And I think in her mind and in hindsight, like when I think about it, I get it. She kind of felt like she worked every minute of her life from when she was like a tween. And she was like, no, like, let me raise my kids. Let me like do what I love. Let me, you know, but my mom has grit for sure. I grew up with a strong mom with a lot of opinions. She doesn't hide them. But like, if you know my mom, you live for my mom. Like she's like my friends. It's like at first they're a little scared, and then they're like, I'm obsessed with her.
I can't wait to meet her. I can't wait.
She's amazing.
Where did you get your grit from then?
I think I always admired it in other people. I think I always had it in me, but I was terrified to use it, if that makes sense. I think coming up, I grew up in a town very similar to here, like Brentwood or Palisades or any of that. And I think I grew up where I felt like people just thought I was going to be this girl that like married some wealthy guy and like didn't do anything or whatever. And I think in my mind, I was like, why does everyone think that I'm that girl? Why does everyone think that like I'm not going to use my brain in my life, you know? And I ended up really wanting to work from like the age of 16. And I was like, I need more. I need to do for myself. I want for myself. I want all these things. And I think that drive really pushed me through, like through college, through everything. I couldn't wait to grow up. I couldn't wait to be my own person, if that makes sense.
Make your own path.
I wanted my own rules. I've never liked people. I didn't like the norms ever. Yeah. I didn't like people telling me what to do and that I had to do and be a certain thing because, right?
Yeah.
And when I found what I loved, lucky enough, when I graduated, I just was so obsessed and so excited and so driven that I just couldn't see anything else.
I mean, it's wild to me that you've literally had such a successful career over such a long span of time. Like,
it's long.
Yeah, I mean, but not
so
like
long.
I mean, like all respect. Like, to be honest with you, I mean, you have like. There's not one person I can come across that doesn't know who Rachel Zoe is. Aww. But then if not even just you, it's like the brand or what you've created or, you know, the persona or the glamour behind it, right? But to have a vision or to have like something that you're interested in, like you just said, when you graduate, and then that carry you on throughout your entire life and that be basically your through line for the entire time, that's major. You're not a musician. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not in there like, I'm about to drop my new album.
No. When I tell you whatever the opposite of a musician is, that's what I am.
But that takes something there, Rachel. I'm saying, like, what is that like magic sauce or whatever that you've consistently been able to carry out through all the different phases of life, but it's been the exact same, you know what I mean, consistency. What is that?
Well, I think people are really smart. I think people really know when someone is authentically themselves. Yeah. When someone is speaking about things that they themselves either have lived, experienced, believe in, striving for, whatever it is, people know when people are full of shit, right? I'm sorry if I can't curse.
No, you can
But
curse.
I think for me, I have so much love for the industry that I started in, right? But I also got to a point where I had to do more and be more with a bigger purpose, right? And I think that you learn, at least for me, I learned coming up in this business of fashion and everything else around it, what I wanted, what I didn't want, and what I wanted to do for women, right? And I think when you look at it from a much bigger macro, what can I do for women?
Right.
It goes way beyond telling them what to wear. Right. And I think that, funny enough, and it's weird that I say this, but I do reference it all the time. My passion was psychology and sociology. And so, and I got straight A's in that, and I was obsessed with it. And I think for me, I've only ever been able to excel in things that I was very interested in. And I think that with psychology, I learned that I love people and getting in the minds of people. And so I think with that, and sort of approaching life from that higher place of what can I do to help women feel better about themselves, that then really just kept going into so many different directions of what businesses can I create that's going to help them? What can I do to give like talks and mentorships and things like that? What partnerships can I do that can help impact women's lives? What philanthropic things can I be a part of that, you know, and ultimately I'm fully governed by my heart. And I don't say that as a martyr at all, because listen, it's tripped me up. It has gotten me hurt. It's not always the best decision with your heart because you need to use your head. So I would say that I think that staying interested in what I'm doing and having an overall mission to help women live their lives the best that they can on every single level, I think that's maybe why I'm still here. I don't know. I'm very honest. Like, I'm honest when I talk to you. I'm honest when I'm on my social media. I say how I feel, for better or for worse.
No, you do.
And I've only started really using my voice loudly over the last sort of 5-10 years, and said, okay, what do I have to lose? Because I actually now believe that silence is being complicit. And I think that once that hit, you know, I'm like, if I sit here silent with 4.5 million followers, then wouldn't my followers think that I agree with what's going on?
But when did that hit? Did it hit for you being on social media and having, like you said, that platform, or when did it hit?
Yeah, it hit probably in the last 5 years, mostly. Probably more, but like, I used to really not touch on matters outside of, you know, the business of fashion or styling. I really didn't. I kept it I talk about my kids, of course, because they're my whole life.
Of course.
But it was really my kids or my work. And that was it. And then I think when the world started turning inside out and upside down, in so many obvious ways, and I think I was so angry about so many things that I had to start getting loud. And not even loud, I think just honest about how I felt. And not everyone liked it. Some people love it. I got to a point where I said, get out. Don't follow me if you hate it.
Because I also feel like you run in very, you know, different social circles, right? Like, in those circles, did you feel like there was ever pushback from you speaking out on your socials about it?
I felt that on my social media, it became very evident where certain groups of my followers were and how they felt. Yeah. And I think based on what some people said at certain times over the last 5 years, you really saw what people were made of. Right. And I think at that point I made a decision and I said, okay, unfollow me. Yeah. You know? Right. Because I think that's how the world is right now. I think there's a certain responsibility that comes with having a platform. And I do think that some people really opt out of it, and that's okay, right? They just want to keep it real top level, simple. And I think that that's okay. But I think for me, because there were so many things and still are so many things that really get into my soul, that I started to feel like being silent was not okay. You know, and I'm not, it's not all day, every day. I'm not,
no, of course,
campaigning and screaming and that, because I'm not a political figure, right? But I just think there's a lot of things that I think enough. And I think there's so many bad things happening in our world right now that, like, it's like, to not talk about it, to not mention it, to me, it's just not okay for me personally. I'm not judging anybody else.
Did you feel like because you were a mom, and this is also something that I don't know if people really realize, if they follow you, I think they do understand, but you are an avid mother. You are oh my God. Guys, when I tell you this woman is all about these kids,
She
loves the children. I am telling you, she and she can tell you whether you're having a boy or a girl. She called mine each time. She called
I did it the other day. I did it to two people the other day.
I'm telling you, your little psychic self. But do you think also having children also kind of steered that conversation for you and was like, listen, I have to speak out because you're also raising two boys?
100%. And I think that absolutely has everything to do with it. And I think when you're a parent, again, like I speak for myself, because I don't want to be judgy about how other people choose to be public or private or raise their kids or use their voice or not. But for me, I think being a parent, I mean, look, it changed everything for me. But I think being a mom was sort of like, I have a very clear job and responsibility to be a good example. And everything, it's funny, I don't hide a lot from them. I really don't. I have found since they were very young, and they're 9 and 11 now, that honesty with them is less frightening. It's less frightening for them because otherwise they pick up on little things.
Right.
And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. And the unknown to them is actually more scary. Okay. And I think when you're like a hands-on parent, I think ultimately your kids, there's a trust they have in you that if mom and dad say I'm safe, I'm safe.
Right.
Right?
Right. Absolutely. Okay,
That's
but this just honestly, I just literally pivoted in my brain when you were talking about parenthood and like being open and honest.
I'm always pivoting.
Like, I was like, oh my God, has she had the talk with them? Like, have you had like that's the first thing, because I'm kind of going through this right now in my life. And so recently they don't do sex ed at Nima's school, and so I'm like, okay, when do I have the talk with her?
Interesting.
And so I got a book.
They don't?
No.
Okay.
And so is it happen at your school? Did they go through it at school?
It does.
Okay.
It does. And my kids are at, we're on our second school. And the first school was very progressive.
Right.
And actually talks about it in third grade.
Oh my gosh.
Which I felt, well, okay, so we were freakishly saved by the pandemic. Not saved, because obviously that ruined everybody's lives. But what I mean is, because we left school at that time, they never did it.
Oh, okay.
However, fifth grade came around in the new school, and they do talk about it.
Okay.
And it's funny because I tuck the kids in every night, and that's, I'm sure that's when they get the verbal, like, that's when it all
verbal
comes out
diarrhea.
of their mouth. Let me tell you. Everything. So I would say, like, all right, guys, you want to talk about it? Should we like, da-da-da? And he's like, Mom, I know everything. I'm like, do you? Are you sure? And then they taught it in school. And he came home and he's like, Mom, God, like, Mom. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, they teach it in a way that is absolutely age appropriate. I think it's amazing they do it. I think knowledge is power. I think fifth grade, to me, based on what I'm seeing in terms of how the kids are at that age, it's the perfect time.
I've heard that. Okay, third feels so young.
Third is too young, in my opinion. Third is way too young.
But then I've also heard arguments that when you talk about it younger, then they understand it more as like a scientific thing than as a physical kind of like, ooh, baby thing. And so
it's true.
I don't know.
It's true. I heard that too. The argument of the third grade conversation was that the younger they know, the less confused they are.
Interesting.
And the less scary it is.
Oh my God, it sounds such
I still believe, based on my boys, who, not to be like, not generalizing, but I do think boys are younger than girls.
Yeah.
In most ways. And I felt, at least with my kids at third grade, they're not ready, in my opinion.
Right.
However, fifth, I think, is beautiful time. And I think that the schools handle it really well. However, I think because of the access that these kids have now
Yes.
and the conversations. And to be honest, I think what happens ultimately is different parents show kids different things at different ages.
Yes. And different kids have different older siblings that are showing them things.
It's the older siblings.
It's the siblings. I mean,
it is.
That's where
it is.
Look, the older siblings are the worst. Those are the ones who are showing all of our young children all these things.
It's true.
Who has more of like the talk with the boys? Is it Roger or you?
No. It's me. It's me because they tell me everything. And so I know about their crushes, the girls that like them, how they handle it. Their first girlfriends were my favorite girls in their grades. They're like, Mommy, I think you're going to be happy. They're such mama's boys. What I think will happen is as they get into teen, it probably will shift more to daddy.
Yeah.
Like I think Roger will become more, because listen, I think then it becomes about their bodies and like different things. But for now, it's like, mom, everything.
I love
and
it.
they don't hold back, you know.
Yeah.
It's really funny, and you have to like as the parent, like you have to like you gotta take a breath and like be like, okay.
I think I'm gonna need a little bit more than a breath. I'm telling you, I got so nervous, Rachel. I started sweating. I was like,
That's
oh my
the
God.
thing. You don't want to say the wrong thing.
I was like, my heart palpitating. And then I got really nervous. And then she was like, what, Mom? And she was like, you know what? I don't want to talk about this anymore. I was like, okay.
Right. That's what happened with Sky. He's like, Mom, I know it. Yeah. I'm like,
no,
you sure?
She doesn't know it though. She doesn't know
sure?
it. I'm positive.
How old is she?
She's 10. And she doesn't know it.
You know what? In a year or two, let her know.
Yeah,
You're fine.
You know what it is? I think that
You're fine. Don't rush.
I am really cognizant though. Like I want it to come from me, and I don't want it to come from misinformation from another kid or from her friends or anything like that. So that's where I'm like, time is ticking. I need to hurry on up.
It's brutal, but books are great.
Books are great.
Books are great. Books are great.
Tool.
Like I think a book is great.
I'm gonna go the book route.
They can go back.
Yeah,
Lizzy, they can go back. They can be like chapter 2. Wait,
that's
let me reread that.
I'm gonna go book route and not video route. That's what I'm gonna do. Book route, not video route. Don't do video.
Don't do video.
Okay, wait a minute. So let's talk about you and Roger. You and Roger have been married how long?
February 15th will be 25 years. I know, it's mental.
Rachel.
We've been together for 31.
Rachel.
I know. We met when I was in kindergarten.
Oh, basically. Of course. Obviously. Easy.
Obviously. Child
bride.
Duh.
Hello.
Child bride.
We all know that. Duh.
Obviously.
Not a day over 32.
No.
Okay, but wait a minute. How does that work, Rach? Like, honestly, how does that work? Because I'm look, I'm happily married, but we've been married for... God, hold on. Let me do the math. Hold on.
Supermodel, my favorite supermodel couple.
Whatever. 13 years, I think we've been married, which is still quite a while. That's an accomplishment, right?
That's good. No, that's major. Good. 13 in this town is like 25.
That's what I'm saying, right? But like 25, been together for 31. How do you, okay, let me be more specific because you can answer that. Let me be more specific. How do you, one thing that I really commend or whatever, I think that I can give you straight kudos for is you've always grown. So you are your own independent woman, yet I still see obviously you and Roger very much as an intertwined couple who, you communicate effectively. Like, so how do you do that? I think that's what I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find how do I continue to have my independence, but yet still have a happy marriage?
Well, first of all, I think you're doing it because there's this hard part. So this is the biggest difference, I think, in my marriage versus probably the rest of the world, because I'm pretty sure I've never met somebody who waited 18 years to have kids.
Right.
So I think there is this ease that exists in a marriage before you have children, right? So, and it's funny because I'm now very much a grown-up, and we were together as literally I was a teenager, right? So we were together. When I tell people that we were together 18 years before we had children, they're like, it's like their jaws like drop to the floor. They're like, what do you mean? Because it was funny because before we had children, everybody used to be like, you guys are the most in love couple. You guys are the happiest couple. You guys like live this baller life. You're working all the time. You're traveling all the time. We didn't have kids. So when you don't have kids, all you do is live for each other, yourselves, and your work, right?
So true.
And then you have kids and you live for your kids.
That's right.
Right? At least I do. And, I don't know what would be if I had kids much younger. And I say that because there's a certain dynamic that gets really shaken up when you have children, right?
Yeah.
It's like, as the mom, we know our husbands are needy. They need us. They love us. They want things all the time, right? And those are all sorts of things,
right?
And big and small. But I think what happens is when all of a sudden you have children that pull so much of our being, physically, emotionally, mentally, intimately, like all those things, right? Then all of a sudden, our husbands have to learn how to share us, right?
Right.
And I think that there is an immediate shift, right? And so I think Raj and I, we have learned, I think, and then add to it that we're business partners and work together.
It's wild to me. It's wild to me. You spend so much time together.
It's wild to me. It is wild to me. It's wild to me because, listen, I always tell people, if you have ever watched I Love Lucy and Lucy and Ricky, I always think that's our best sort of comparison.
Right.
Because we bicker, we disagree, we agree, we, all the things, right? Because we've grown up together. But really, he still tells me every single day he thinks I'm the most beautiful woman he's ever known, no matter where we are.
Stop it.
We'll be at a party. We're at a party with clearly the prettiest girls in the world and clearly 1,000 times more beautiful than his wife. But for whatever reason, he's got these blinders on that still's nope, no one I want to be with here. No one I want to leave with more than you.
Do you feel but do you feel like the 18 years, right? And obviously 18 years, you say it with that it's an extensive amount of time, but do you feel like that time solidified also you guys, right? You knew the routine, you knew, and you also appreciated kids when you got them because you were we already know what that other life was like.
Correct. Yeah. And that is why we don't. It's funny because I became such a homebody when I had my kids. And
same.
What's funny about it is I think it's sort of I did so much before I did this. Do you know what I mean? And now there's nothing I want to do more, right? Yeah. And so when I go out, there's a reason, right? It's work, it's this, it's that.
But
there's
Rachel,
a really
you are
good reason.
still out. You are still
I am.
out.
And do you know what's weird? It's I still say no 95% of the time.
Wow.
And it's still but I'm never out without a purpose. Right. And that's actually, to be honest, something I'm working on this year because what's happened is between my kids and my work, I don't just go out with girlfriends for dinner.
Right.
I don't just meet them for lunch. I don't just go to a friend's house to hang out. I don't do that.
Right.
And so I think that I need to do that because I need just normal time, right? Just normal time that isn't tied to work and that isn't home doing homework with the kids and tucking them in and watching movies with them because that's my immediate pull, right? But I do think that in a few years, they're going to leave me and be my mom, love you. Pick me up. Pick me up at 9 o'clock. 100%. So I feel like my days are numbered anyway.
I mean, they look, for all of us, they are. Trust me. I mean, our kids, that's what, honestly, through my relationship, I'm always okay, listen, at the heart of it, I'm I know that these kids are going to leave me one day. So let me try and be really nice to him right now because he's going to be my only friend. My only friend. Okay, but really though, Rachel, if you're saying that you don't ever have that alone time with friends for dinner and everything is work or your kids or school things or Roger, what do you do for you? What's your
no.
Nothing.
I'm the first one to admit not enough. I don't even know what. I had 2 hours to myself on Sunday and I literally was like, what should I do? Should I wash my hair? Should I go to the country mart? Should I I literally, it was sort of like that paralyzing feeling like, I have free time. What am I doing? You know?
Right.
And I'm not like a big spa person. I'm not, but for me to take I know this sounds crazy, but just not rush.
Take your time.
Is to literally be like, hey, I have 2 hours. I could take a shower. I could do a mask on my face. I could deep condition my hair, maybe do my nails.
Yes.
Wow. And I have no one you have to be here at this time. What time are you picking us up? Oh, the kids are going to be home in 10 minutes, blah, 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 blah. You have this event. You got to get into hair and makeup. So I don't do a lot of me time or self-care. And I think that's something that, again, I think for now, I sort of have just owned the fact that my time is with the kids and that soon, I would say Caius is 9 now. I'm 2-3 more years. And they're going to be my baby's 9. So
I know.
I feel like in 3 years, they're going to be just pick me up, drop me off. I love you.
And, I mean, not even that. They're going to be taking the car. They're gone. They're not even asking you to
don't
pick
even
up and drop
discuss
off.
it. Don't
Rachel,
even discuss it.
They're not even. They don't need you in 5 years. He's like, I don't need that. I'm good. I'm good.
That literally makes me want to die. I can't even handle that. But I think in terms of the Roger of it all, at the end of the day, he's my best friend. At the end of the day, there are nights when we don't want to say anything. There's nights when we're just so burnt from talking to people, from meetings, from events, from whatever, the kids, all this stuff. It's just he goes into one room, I'm in the other room, I'm on the phone with my sister. Good night, I love you. And then there's moments I want to kill him, honestly, I want to.
Well, listen, hello, welcome to marriage.
Hit him with a frying pan.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, honestly, I looked at Issa the other day and I was like, you better be glad I'm not in a kitchen. You just better be glad I have nothing to grab because honestly, I don't want to be that woman right now.
It's true.
But it's interesting though. I think that also what works and what I hear and because I see you and Roger firsthand and I see how the relationship goes and I think it's because you guys are in it together
it's
though.
True.
It's not just that you're co-partners and you're working and this is Rachel popping cans. Yes. Hey, podcast audio. This is Rachel literally popping cans in my video. You are so Jessica right now. That's some shit Jessica would do in the middle of my video. Yeah, that's exactly
Listen,
right.
at least I'm not chewing gum. I could be doing that.
That's right. I heard her. Exactly. No, but that just means you're comfortable. Look, that's
Girl,
why
I love
take
you.
that. It's a sign of comfort and you
I
love me. But that's exactly right. You and Roger are in it though, and that's the thing. I think because you guys are also co-business partners, but you're in it together. You're doing all the minutia is together.
Yes.
You're understanding together. So you guys understand it more, and I think that's helpful.
And we're rooting for each other. That's the thing. We really are, and I think that's the biggest thing that Raj and I have really talked about over the years is sort of we are so playing for the same team. We've never once competed,
well, you have to
but
be.
We're not competing with each other. And I think that's not uncommon in a couple that are both in businesses, whether it's the same business or different. It's a measure of success, right? And it's a battle of the egos.
Right.
And we definitely don't have that.
No, that's major. That's major. I mean, honestly, Rachel, you are goals in so many ways.
Right back.
It's phenomenal. I mean, I am so proud to call you a friend of mine. And I keep learning things from you. I'm learning things constantly from you. It's really wild. But okay.
I was going to say, I quote you all the time. I do. You know what I'm going to say, right? When you told me no haters and I said, oh, if you had haters, you go, if I did, I don't allow it. Yeah. I don't let them in. Yeah. I don't let it in.
That's right.
And honestly,
no time.
Babe, I have taken that with me because I'm so sensitive like that. And I take it personally and I'm no.
How can you be sensitive? Listen, this is what I'm so confused by, right? How could you possibly be sensitive when you've been around Hollywood for umpteen years?
I think,
right? How could that even
because I think that's why. Because I think that's why. I think what happens is if you are set out, like if you set out in your career and you know there's a good chance you're going to be famous or people are going to know who you are, you're going to be a public figure, you kind of are really at peace likely with rejection, with haters, with all those things. I think for me, because my goal was to always be behind and be a stylist and be the person sort of not in front, I think that there's a different constitution there, right? Like there's I take things to heart. I do. I always have. And so I think that I would pretend that I don't, because I'm a Virgo, right, on the outside. Right. But it's like it hurts deeper, right? And so I would always, I think throughout my career, it would be, okay, just keep smiling, just keep your head up, keep this, that. But Roger would know that I was like crumbling or crying or like whatever. And I think that over the years, I've gotten much more grit. Honestly, that's why I was saying my grit came later. And I think my dad was the one who always taught me, like, confidence comes with experience, and your voice really gets louder as you get sort of the longer you are in your career, and the sort of more I don't want to use the word power, but I want to say, I guess, the longer you're in it, right? And the more sort of influence you may have, your confidence sort of, I think, is part of that, right? And your fear, I think for me, when I became a mother, my voice got louder because I felt like I had more to defend rather than just myself. And so I think it's that.
I think it just hit me. I think it literally just hit me when you were talking, which I never realized before. Never realized this before. You're an unintentional celebrity.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I don't even know where that term came from. It just literally came out my brain. But like, as you're talking, I'm like, oh my God, she's an unintentional celebrity. Like, what in the mess? So now it makes sense. Because all these years, not that I thought that you were like, oh, I'm trying to be a celebrity, but like all these years, I just like saw you as like this, celebrity stylist and like fashion designer and like all these things, like literally glamour mogul, like all these things, right? And I guess it never hit me that, wait a minute, Rachel fell upon this shit. Like, this is...
No, it's true. And so I think that's why I wasn't armed with the tools. And I think my friends that are like actors or whatever, like that, they've been rejected since they were like 11. Like, there's just their castings and this. And they're like, no, you have blonde hair. No, you have brown hair. You're too short. You're not the right vibe. Like, you're too old. Like, and they come in, they're like, oh, I lost that. I thought, and it was nothing. And for me, I'm like, why did they say that about me? I don't understand. I didn't, So I think I just wasn't ready for that,
Okay, but what steps did you have to take in order to like protect your mental health?
I went through it all. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think enough things happened along the way by enough people that I will be very honest with you. When I had my kids, it all became less important. Meaning it was my clients who were so incredible. I mean, I was working with, and I won't mention the names, but literally the biggest celebrity in the world still today, winning Oscars. And they would look at me and say, why would you listen to what that person is saying? They don't know you. We know you. We're sitting here with you telling you we don't think that. Or like, we know you don't do that. We know that whatever it was. And I think they were so pro at that they were sort of like, it seemed so ridiculous that it was eating at my insides. And then I think what happened was I had my kids and I was still working really hard. And it was like, no matter what happened, I would look at them and be like, but I get you, right? Like, I get you. The way you're looking at me right now, I'm good. Like, this is good. And I think what happened was a little bit of what you say is I didn't let it in. And then I just got like, and then I realized like, hey, hold on a minute. Why do I give one shit what you say? A, that's B, Roger used to make me try and think of the person that was writing it. and have the visual of where they were living, how they were living their lives.
That.
And he's like, they're angry people. They're trying to bring you down. They don't know you.
I love
and
that.
So that was kind of it. And then I think with social media, being able to sort of control your community and say, you're not welcome in here. Your hate and your poison, your toxic words, you're not allowed in here anymore. Bye.
I mean, but listen, you were doing social media in a way before it was even a thing. I mean, you had one of the most popular reality TV shows ever made. You know what I'm saying? And it was wildly popular. I mean, so that was a form of social before you before social even existed.
It was weird. I think that's a little bit why I agreed to do it ultimately, because I think at the time, you know, it was funny. It was Roger was like, because I was like, no, I'm never doing that. No way. And Roger was like, you know what, babe? Like, you're doing what you love. Like, you're going to go to the shows. You're going to bring people into fashion shows. You're going to have people meet Karl Lagerfeld and Donatella and all these amazing people that they wouldn't have access to. You do you. If they want to judge you, then at least they can judge you accurately. If they decide they don't like you, then like you're not acting in the show, right? So they're either going to like you, hate you, or not care. And so, and in hindsight, he was 100% right, you know? And like, because at that point, you know, it's funny, I still now see people, they'll be like, Rach, Raj, oh my God. And Raj and I always go, like, friend from camp, friend from college, like, exactly. And they're like, you don't know me. We're like, okay, good. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, great. So yeah, and I think, you know, we'll see. We're talking about doing another show now. We'll see. We'll see. You
heard it here first.
We'll see.
The next installment of Rach and Raj right here announced on the Cool Mom Code
starring Lizzy Mathis.
I mean, look, you know, honestly, we have to sign 100%. But honestly, thank you for taking this time. Like I said, I love you and I think the world of you. And I'm just so, I honestly, I wish everyone could hear our conversations that we had all the time and how honestly just real down to earth and open you are. And, you know, honestly, being not from LA, and you know this about me, I'm not from LA. I'm from Detroit. I went to school in Chicago, all these things, Midwest girl.
Like valedictorian and like, you know, queen, homecoming queen, princess, whatever the heck, pageant, gorgeousness.
No, but like sometimes when you get to LA, I think that's the hardest thing, to realize that, you know, to meet people who are innately genuine in how they treat people and how they treat you, and just kind of connecting with people. And you are definitely one of those people that I connected with. And so
I love you
and I'm so
madly.
for you.
You're literally one of my favorite people on earth. So right back at you. Honestly, I love you. Have a beautiful day, my friend.
You too. I love you. I'll see you soon, hopefully.
And call me about sex talk questions.
Oh my God, girl! Look. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to show you. I'm going to record it for you and send you a video just to show you how it turns out. My God, I'm terrified. I'm terrified.
I know.
I'm terrified. Okay, I love you.
Bye.
Mwah. Bye.
It's like, these are the things.